Creativity isn't yours alone. Vlad Glaveanu's 5A's framework. In 1997, a Nigerian-British artist named Chris Ofili won the Turner Prize, one of the most prestigious awards in contemporary art. His paintings incorporated elephant dung as a physical material, referencing African spiritual traditions he'd encountered while traveling. The British art world celebrated it. A few years later, when one of those paintings was exhibited in New York, the mayor tried to have the Brooklyn Museum defunded for showing it. Same work celebrated in one room, scandalous in another. Was the painting creative in London and not in New York? Or creative all along? Or not yet fully creative until it was received, debated, and argued over? Those questions sound philosophical, but they point to something real. Vlad Glaveanu, a Romanian-Irish psychologist who has spent his career rethinking what creativity is and where it lives. The painting was never just in the canvas. It was already in the relationship between the object, the artist, the audience, the material tools and cultural meanings available, and all the actions that moved between them. That's the 5A's model, and it might be the most complete picture of creativity we have. Who is Glaveanu? Vlad Glaveanu is a professor of psychology at Dublin City University and one of the leading voices in what's sometimes called the socio-cultural approach to creativity. His 2013 paper, Rewriting the Language of Creativity, introduced the 5A's framework as a deliberate attempt to fix what he saw as the persistent blind spots in the field. His central argument, creativity research, has always had a geography problem. It keeps looking for creativity in the wrong place. The geography problem. Most creativity research and most of the way we talk about creativity in everyday life treats it as something that lives inside an individual. You have it or you don't. You have more or you have less of it. The creative act is what happens inside the person's head. This goes back to ancient Greece. The idea of the inspired individual, the genius touched by the muse. It survived the scientific turn of the 20th century, largely intact. We just replaced the muse with neuroscience and personality traits. But the basic geography stayed the same. Creativity is in here and the world is out there. Glaveanu says, look at what creative people actually do. They work with materials that have histories. They respond to what already exists. They're in conversation with other people, both living and dead. They make things in specific cultural and physical environments that shape what's even possible. They're oriented toward audiences, real and imagined, that their work is in dialogue with from the very beginning. None of this is incidental to the creativity. It's constitutive of it. The creativity doesn't happen first and then interact with the world. It happens in the interactions, the limitations of what came before. The dominant framework since the 1960s has been what researchers call the 4P's: person, process, product, and press, meaning environment or context. It's a useful inventory, but Glaveanu points out a fundamental problem. It lists the parts without explaining how they connect. You have a person who goes through a process, who produces a product, inside some kind of an environment. But what's the relationship between them? How do they actually interact? The 4P's doesn't say. It also implicitly keeps the person at the center. The process is what the person does. The product is what the person creates. The environment is what the person is inside of. The person is the subject and everything else is in service. Glaveanu wanted a framework that was genuinely relational, one where no element could be understood in isolation from the others, and where the relationship between them were the primary unit of analysis, not the individual. The 5A's. Actor. The actor is the person, but not quite the way we usually think about them. In most creativity models, the person is a container. They have traits, cognitive capacities, knowledge, motivation, things they possess independently of the world. Glaveanu's actor is instead a positioned being. They are always somewhere specific in a time, a place, a tradition, a set of relationships. Their capacities don't exist in a vacuum. They're shaped by what they've been exposed to, what tools they've used, what conversations they've been a part of. And crucially, actors can be individual or collective. A design team is an actor. A cultural movement is an actor. A tradition of practice passing across generations involves a kind of distributed actor. Glaveanu deliberately leaves this open because reducing the actor to a single individual misses a huge amount of where creative agency actually lives. Action. Action is the doing, the creative process itself. And here, Glaveanu makes a move that's easy to underestimate. He insists that action is not just what happens between the actor and the artifact. It's what happens across all the A's simultaneously. Most models of the creative process tell a story that goes, the person thinks and then makes, cognition, then execution, internal, then external. But anyone who has actually done creative work knows that's not how it goes. The material pushes back. The process of making discovers what you're making. You don't fully know what you think until you see what you've done. Glaveanu insists on keeping this interaction alive in the model. Action is the node that connects everything. It's where actor, artifact, audience, and affordances all meet. There's no creativity without the doing, and the doing is never just expression, always negotiation. Artifact. Artifacts are the outputs, the things made. But again, Glaveanu complicates the simple story. An artifact isn't just the finished product. It's everything the creator works with. Preliminary sketches, discarded drafts, the existing works they're responding to, the tools they're using, the prototype that failed. All of these are artifacts in the creative process, not just the final thing. And artifacts carry meaning that the creator didn't put there alone. A painting doesn't mean what the painter intended. It means what it means in the context of everything else it exists alongside. Other paintings, the history of the genre, the space it hangs in, the eyes that read it. This is why the Ophelia painting could mean different things in London and New York, not because the object changed, but because the web of meaning surrounding it did. Artifacts are thus never just objects. they're conversations frozen in a medium, waiting to be continued. Audience. Audience is where the 5A's framework gets genuinely radical, and where it most directly challenges the lone genius mythology. In most accounts of creativity, the audience comes after. You make the thing, and then people receive it. The audience is the destination, not part of the creative process itself. Glaveanu says, watch what actually happens. Creators have imagined audiences in their heads from the beginning. The novelist writes for the reader, even in the first draft. Some internalized sense of who will receive this, what they'll understand, what will need explaining. The musician hears the performance before it happens from the outside. The designer is constantly modeling the user, and the actual audience, the people who encounter the work, don't just receive it, they complete it. They bring interpretations, associations, emotional responses that the creator never anticipated and couldn't fully control. The meaning of a creative work is genuinely co-produced by everyone who engages with it. This has a further implication. The audience isn't only the audience for the final work. Fellow practitioners, critics, teachers, collaborators, all of these form an ongoing social environment that shapes what gets made. Creative work is always already social. It's soaked in the views and standards and expectations of others, even when you're alone in the studio at 2 a.m. This is where the framework connects directly to Mihai's systems model. The field isn't just an external judge after the fact. It's woven into the process from the beginning as the internalized and actual audience. Affordances. Affordances are the possibilities for action that exist in the environment. And this is perhaps the most intellectually interesting of the five. The concept comes from the psychologist James Gibson, who used it to describe how animals perceive their environment, not as a collection of objects, but as a collection of possible actions. A rock doesn't present itself to a bird as rock. It presents itself as, can land on this, can use this to crack open a nut. The environment is always already organized around what you can do with it. Glaveanu extends this to creativity. A blank canvas, a programming language, a city block, a musical tradition. These aren't neutral raw materials that the creator simply uses. They come preloaded with possibilities. They invite certain actions and make others difficult or impossible. The structure of the tools shapes the structure of what can be made. But here's the crucial move. Affordances aren't fixated properties of objects. They're relationships between a material environment and perceiving acting agent. The same city block affords different things to an architect, a street photographer, a child, a delivery driver. Which affordances you can perceive and use depends on who you are, what you know, and what you're trying to do. This means that creative development isn't just the accumulation of skills. It's the expansion of what you can see as possible. The more you develop in a domain, the richer the affordance landscape becomes. What looks like a dead end to a novice is the starting point to an expert. Not because the materials changed, but because the practitioner's relationship to them did. how they interact. These 5 elements don't operate independently. They constitute each other. The actor is shaped by what artifacts they've encountered, what audiences they've been in conversation with, what affordances their environment made available. The artifact carries the traces of previous actions, and actors encodes responses to anticipated audiences, realizes some affordances while closing off others. The action is simultaneously shaped by the actor's positioning, the artifact's resistances, the imagined audience's expectations, and the affordances of the available materials. Glaveanu describes this as a system in constant motion. Creativity isn't a moment. It's a process of moving through this relational space where every element is continuously shaping and being shaped by every other. One practical implication: creative blocks often make much more sense through this lens. A block isn't just something wrong with the person, it might be a mismatch between actor and affordances. You're trying to work with materials you haven't developed the relationship with yet. It might be an audience problem. You're paralyzed by the real or imagined responses you haven't been able to work through. It might be an artifact problem. You're constrained by conventions of the form that are too tight to let you move. Diagnosing the problem requires looking at the whole system. The harder conversation. There's a dimension of the 5A's that Glaveanu doesn't shy away from, and that connects to something we touched on in the systems model video. The politics of who gets to be in the system. If creativity is always relational, always produced through interactions between actors, artifacts, audiences, and affordances, then the conditions of those interactions matter enormously, and those conditions are not equally distributed. Which affordances are available to you depends on where you were born, what resources you had access to, what traditions you were included in, what audience you can reach depends on who is willing to listen. And existing power structures determine that unevenly. Whose artifacts get preserved, celebrated, and passed down as part of the domain, versus whose get ignored, suppressed, or absorbed without credit is a deeply political question. The framework doesn't just describe creativity as it happens in ideal conditions. It maps the terrain on which unequal creative participation actually plays out. And once you can see the terrain, you can start asking better questions about how to change it. Why this matters to you. The 5A's suggests that the most useful question isn't, am I creative? It's, what is the relational system I'm working in? And where are the pressure points? On actor, what position, knowledge, and experience do you bring? Not as innate traits, but as the result of specific encounters, practices, and conversations. How has your particular history shaped what you can see and do? On action, are you actually doing the thing or planning to do the thing? The doing is where creativity happens. The doing is also where you discover what you're capable of. Not in theory, but in practice, with all the resistance and surprise that involves. On artifact, what existing work are you in conversation with? Who came before you in your domain? And what are you responding to, extending, arguing with? Ignoring this doesn't make you more original. It usually makes you less so because you're working without knowing the landscape. On audience. Who is the work for? Not just the eventual audience, but the imagined reader, listener, or user you're carrying with you right now. Being specific about this often resolves creative paralysis because the work starts to know its own purpose. On affordances. What does your medium make possible that you haven't fully explored yet? Are there constraints in your environment that look like walls but might be structures to push against? Are there possibilities you haven't noticed because you haven't developed the relationship with your materials to see them? The 5A's is a deliberately awkward framework in the best possible sense. It refuses to let you locate creativity in any single place. Every time you try to point at the actor and say, "There it is," the model pulls your attention to the audience. They were shaped by the affordances they're working within. Actions that are transforming both at once. That refusal is the point. Creativity is genuinely distributed. It happens between things, not in them. The most isolated, seeming creative acts are dense with invisible relationships to materials, to traditions, to imagined and real others, to the possibilities that a specific time and place made available. What Glaveanu gives us is a map of that density, not to simplify it, but to make it navigable, so that instead of wandering vaguely where your creativity went, you can look at the specific relationship in your specific creative situation and ask which one needs most attention.